Now that's a hard job, because if you try to calculate using the best information we had, how much material, let's say steel, how thick a steel wall do you need if a given neutrino coming into the steel wall should have a very good chance of never getting out? How long does that steel wall have to be? 10 feet, 100 feet, a mile, 10 miles? Turned out the answer is 100 million miles. So we went to the authorities and we said, we need 100 million miles of steel. We want to catch neutrinos. Well, of course, we didn't do that. But we thought more clearly, and it turns out that if you have 2 neutrinos, you only need half that thickness. And if you have 1 billion neutrinos, or 1 billion neutrinos, then you might need a kind of detector that you could think of building. It would still have to be very massive and detailed. And it turned out that we hit on a way of doing this with a detector, which for that time, 1960s, was very massive. It was 10 tons of material. And it's not just 10 stupid tons of steel sitting there. You had to look inside to see the collision. So it had to be, in some sense, semi-transparent. Anyway, the experiment was wildly successful. We discovered, in fact, we discovered that there weren't one neutrino, but there were 2 kinds of neutrinos. And that's what's giving us all the confusion. The number of neutrinos was doubled. And that these 2 types of neutrinos really set us on a road towards what we now call the Standard Model, a compact summary of all of this data that I've been telling you about. The data, lots of data that came out in the laboratories all over the world since 1960. So the two neutrino experiment, as it became known as the 2 neutrino experiment. Of course, when you tell somebody who's not a scientist about 2 neutrinos, they say it sounds like an Italian dance team, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the 2 neutrinos.